JB here. Hope you're doing outstanding. January 3rd, 2025, 3:30 on this fine Friday. Talk really quick about some of the names I'm looking at. The market go from there, but take a look at the S&P. Oh my gosh, you would have thought the market correction was coming. It was uh, written in stone yesterday. The big reversal, rough start to the new year, and then it almost looked like we were going to get continuation today. Markets opened in the green, chopped around in the morning. It looked like we were going to hit lows, bounced at about 9:45, back up to 589 on the SPY, and then back to lows again at 10:30, and then we bounced again. Found a little pressure at 589, and then it's been off to the races ever since. Just impressive. It's funny what a difference a day makes, they say, right? So today, it's like all the negativity from yesterday is weeks away. And a little more rally today, and the SP would actually be green on a week. But for now, we'll just have to settle. SP's up 1.2%. Take a look at small caps, which started out great yesterday and then pulled are up 1.5%. So a good week. And now we'll have some positive vibes into the week, and I think that'll bode well. And the SPY is right near its 50-day moving average. I'd like to see that hold. 591.38. We're at 591.65. I think that'll be a great sign heading into next week. And then I'm not big about like the W formations on charts, but you could see we had that pullback from the Fed, then we had the bounce, then another pullback, and then we have a bounce here. So if this right side of this W continues, you can see maybe we're going to start to break to new all-time highs, right? Yeah, it's funny. You read the headlines this morning too. It's like, oh my gosh, if yields continue to rise, it's going to be bad for the POTUS this year, right? It doesn't matter who the president is, right? But it's like they have to make it part of whoever's the president, as opposed to just like, yeah, if yields continue to rise, momentum names and especially debt names that are highly levered, that are growth names that rely on cheap money, they'll come under pressure. It's just what's going to happen. So hopefully that's not the case. Let's see here. I haven't even had looked at, but funny enough, the yields have started to creep back up, or in the green here. VIX is down at 1638. I don't have my chart with the correlation between the U.S. dollar and the VIX. The U.S. dollar, I don't have updates. I think it updates on a daily basis, so I'll have to take a look at that over the weekend. All right, so that's the overall market. Good sign here. Hopefully, we can hold the gains into the close. I mean, pending any crazy reversal, and then some nice stuff into the weekend. Good vibes, and then earnings season. I believe it's the 16th. Netflix is the 17th, I think, reports. I don't know if that's no, it's today's the 3rd. So I think they report in 2.5 weeks. Maybe they're the 21st. I think they report on a Tuesday, but bank earnings start 2 weeks from today. And then the Fed meetings at the end of the month. I think it's the 28th and 29th, if that makes, no, today's a Friday. So maybe it's the 27th, 28th. Those will be the next big pieces, and then as data starts to come out as well. All right, so that's overall market. So individual names, I was taking some time out over the last couple of days to try to put my thoughts quickly together around TripAdvisor. So I post out little blurbs, especially on the watch list or on FinTwit or in the chat room around why I think TripAdvisor is undervalued here. And to me, it's not even about its overall core story, which is its review business. It's more about its other segments, the Viator I've talked about, and the Fork. And if you take a look at those sides of the business, they were acquired in 2014 for $340 million combined. And you look, the Viator I think it was acquired for $200 million. It's doing over $800 million now, 10 years later or 9 years later. And the last 4 or 5 years, it's had a 36% annual compounded annual growth rate. So it's really accelerating. You just look at those two businesses on their own as possible spin-offs, and a couple billion each, in my opinion, or at least 1.5 for the Fork. If the Fork is 1 to 1.5 and it's doing 177 million, the Viator, which they don't break the margins down by segment, but you have to think maybe it's 2. And TripAdvisor is a $2 billion company. Once it pulls down the outstanding share count from its purchase of Liberty TripAdvisor stake, it's going to drop another 19% or so, because some of it was a 2-class structure. Market cap will be 1.6 or 1.7. They do have debt. I don't know what I think it's going to be. They used to be positive 200 something million. That'll probably drop to negative 200 million, but they do have a $500 million open credit line or revolving credit. I don't know what that looks like, but they are throwing off free cash flow. It's some of the reason why they were doing stock buybacks, because they're in a strong fundamental position. But anyway, needless to say, I wrote up my bull case. You can read it there. It's funny. Back in the day when I wrote this stuff, you didn't have a space to like pop it in and proofread and grammar, and I never used to do that. I do it on my own, right? But now you just go into Grok or you chat and you copy and paste, and it like not only does it do the grammar for you, it like re-edits it with better adjectives and wording and punctuation, which I didn't do. But you read it, I'm like, wow, this sounds much better than what I wrote. But funny how that works, gosh, to be in school these days, I think you need to have that element of the time it takes to like put a piece together. When you're in school and all you have to do is get the generics of what you're trying to say and put it into some program that's going to spit out the finished version. I mean, how do you grow from that? So rants for other days. I'm sure if I type into Grok and put a good paper in and say, can you make this look like it wasn't created by AI or edited or whatever, it would do that too. But that's probably a great business down the line to say, hey, well, you can have the reverse AI. I want to make sure I do well in school. Let me create a software program that makes it look like your piece of your work was not created or edited with AI. All right, that's the rant for Trip. Solar Edge. I just put a little blurb out too. I didn't even realize that the short interest went from 32% or 30, maybe it was 33, 34 to 38%. An all-time high short interest, 22 million shares sold short. That's like 360 million uh, shares of the company, and it's like nearly $1 billion company. So just remarkable. And some of it is because I would assume people have been short for a while. The stock is down quite a bit over the last 2 years, so it's a little different shorting 1,000 shares at $280 as opposed to 1,000 shares at $28, right? So some of it's just a function of the stock price declining. But to me, it just means like how long were those people who are short at higher prices? How much longer are they going to hold? Because I think there's two outcomes, and one of it, they have debt due in I think it's September, 500 million. They also have some other debt in like 2027. So Solar Edge is kind of like a debt story, because if they're not able to wiggle themselves out of debt in what has been a declining solar business for them over the last couple of years, then obviously the short's going to win, right? But on the flip side, if they can work out the debt is workable. Solar kind of rebounds, their cost cutting measures, which they've been taking, start to bear fruit. Then, gosh, and rates come down, right? I mean, if rates start to come down too, that helps. Gosh darn, it's going to squeeze. And I said option three. Uh, Oversold stocks tend to squeeze in January, right? So, I mean, I've been saying for a while, at some point, I think it's going to break out. I think 20 bucks plus is doable, especially if the shorts start to feel the pressure. You can see it reversing this morning. Really like this one. I'm not going to add any more strikes just yet. I was saying 16 last week. That's probably the spot I look to get some more strikes on. But it's one of those names, and I get a lot of comments, why don't you trade First Solar? To me, it's the premiums, right? So if I'm looking to get the best bang for my buck on a risk reward basis, First Solar, the premium is so expensive, I need a tremendous move on a high dollar stock, right? Whereas Solar Edge, you can get inexpensive contracts, where I think if there is a squeeze, there's more chance of a huge squeeze on Solar Edge than First Solar, that the reward for the risk is going to be a heck of a lot higher than what it would be on First Solar. So that's kind of my thought process there. Of course, if you're going to do an argument between Solar Edge and First Solar is a much better position fundamentally, but it's much better company. Just anyway, all right. But I'm trading options, so those are the decisions and why I went with that on flips. All right, so that's for Solar Edge. United Healthcare. So I've been in and out watching this for the last 2 weeks for a bounce. Played some calls last week. Was able to lock some in. Of course, hindsight, I should have locked them all in. Similar story here today. I was watching Humana was rallying at the open, and then it was hitting highs up, like 4 or 5%. So I was looking at United Healthcare, was barely in the green. So I figured, well, and it looked like it was going to start to break out. I was looking at the chart, started to break. It's closed 3 sessions in a row to the downside, slightly in the red. Figure a nice little lotto today. Went and closed some out within like a half hour for a little over 100%. I thought maybe had a chance to get up near 520. So that's what I was holding for. Just a name I'll continue to look for opportunities to play for a bounce. I'm not saying that the pullback is done in some of these healthcare names. There's going to be disruption in that, and I'm not even saying company disruption. The way healthcare is done is going to change, and then all these names are probably going to get revalued once again. What a session for Joby. I mean, it's up 20% here, right at the highs, 976. 933 was the area I was looking for at the break. I was going to get some more strikes, but then I start looking at the Aprils. I'm like, I'll just hold my Januaries for now. January 10s are back to life. Take a look at the chart, the consolidation, or at least I guess you would call it consolidation, but it's pretty wild consolidation between 770 and the 9 handle. And now it looks like it finally broke through. So if that breaks and holds, I think it was 962 was the other key area. I see double digits next week. And then it's kind of like these themes start to really pick up and garner attention the higher they go and the bigger the moves, because then people start looking at it and then they start doing research, say, wow, Joby, this is a very interesting story. So even if the fundamentals aren't going to come in for a couple of years, the stock is not going to the stock is not going to be at the same price when it finally gets all the approvals and is scaling out and actually functioning as a business, right? So by that time, the stock price is going to be way ahead of it. The market's a very good forward-looking pricing mechanism. So that's the rant quick on Joby. And I mean, just take a look at the long-term chart. It hit highs not seen since the summer of 2023. Now you start looking at $12. Is that the target in the coming weeks? I wouldn't rule that out. Yeah, other names here. I mean, take a look at Tesla, and it's just funny. Everybody, writing the obituary already for Tesla yesterday. Oh my gosh, their autos first time they've decreased on a yearly basis, and all these things. And then here it is, rallying for, it's hitting highs right now, 410. And you know what? I think like 3 of the last 5 or 6 weeks, Tesla's had these huge end of day rallies right at the end of the day in the last 20 minutes. Who knows? It's 410 now. It might even head higher. I'm just kicking myself for not getting some on the bounce this morning. Similar, you take a look at Apple. Apple hasn't been able to find a bid today. So I mean, it's going to be, what, 5-6 sessions to the downside for Apple. So surprisingly enough, the overall market has been able to hold up despite the Apple not participating with the rally here today. And then my top 5 stocks, still looking to get some calls, and I'm going to be patient. Every quote's flat today, no volume really. It's slightly in the red. You take a look at Weave and recoup some of yesterday's losses. But it's all 1%, so I'm not going to rush into getting to that one. Swim actually looked like it was a breakout this morning, but I think it was a fat finger trade all the way up near $7. But that's pretty much flat today, up 1%, so I'm not going to touch that. Other names, iRobot, right? Here's a name that I was trading in the summer. You have a new CEO. You kind of have Amazon, which nixed the buyout deal. Well, not nixed, I guess the EU nixed it, and then Amazon had to pull out. There was a whole fee they had to pay iRobot, but then iRobot has a debt deal that they took on just so that the deal with Amazon could get done. But since it's not, now they're stuck with the debt. So similar to SolarEdge, iRobot's like a debt story. But then you have the new CEO, did an insider buy. I think it was like $12. And now you have the possibility, and this, I've been talking about my top 5 stock webinar, the regulation environment, right? All these, the FTC, I mean, that's all going to change. I wouldn't say it's all going to change in a second, but all it needs is the possibility, the specter of it. And then some of these companies that have been waiting on deals, or maybe had nixed deals, worried about monopolies, investigate all these things, they start to go away, and now there's more opportunity. And you take a look at a company like iRobot, it's like, is Amazon going to dip their heels back in at a substantial discount to the original price? It's a possibility, right? So who knows what that looks like? But interesting. I'm just kicking myself. I saw it going this morning. Every time I see it go, it seems to I'm like, okay, maybe I'll get some strikes here. And then by the end of the day, I'm thankful I didn't get some calls. Today is one of those times where I kind of regret it. But we'll see how it plays out next week. But nice move there. I'm trying to think of some of the other names that really start. I mean, Square got an upgrade this morning. Nice gap off, gap and kind of held those levels. So another name I'm always watching. I think that's it, folks. Let's have a great weekend. Hopefully a great start to the new year. I'll be back rock and roll.